Hi, everyone. As we start again, we are on day 7 of the 40 Days of Hope. I would like to introduce you to a book that's one of my friends that is going under the topic on hope that God can bring new life in our relationships. One of the things that I needed myself when it came to God bringing new life into my relationships was animals. And pets are very important. They have been a very well-to-do impact in our life. And every time we had pets, we learned things from them. And my dog, who's over at the door, you can see him. With him, we had to learn something called patience. I actually have pictures of my dog when he was a puppy. It was this one. And I had another dog in the past. He passed away 7 years ago. And the one that passed away 7 years ago was a lot easier dog to have in the community. He got along with people. So he was enjoyable. The one I have right now, he is a lot of work. And he only likes his family members. So that's one perspective of relationships. And another one is what I've learned from my rabbits. I've learned that my rabbits do want to get to know each other, but my female rabbit wants to inform her boundaries, and my male bunny has to learn the boundaries. So they learn the boundaries by them having their own cages, and she's allowed to be out of her cage a lot more often than he is. I was used to take him outside in the springtime and in the summer, but when the neighbors from back door, my back door neighbors have a tree that produced leaves that were falling on the ground. So I'm keeping my rabbits in the house until the springtime. So my rabbits have the same bedroom. One of the strategies I've had to learn from the two rabbits is they need to get to know each other with a wall. And the wall is very simple. He can't break the wall because there's security on it. So he doesn't have to be in a different room as her. He just has to have his own cage. And he gets a turn hopping out, and she gets a turn hopping out. This type of strategy allows prevention of intrusion. When I learned that from my rabbits, I realized that the proper treatment when I was in high school was if I respected people and didn't talk about them being my boyfriend, that I should be allowed to talk to them if I have the whole day of not talking about them being in a relationship that they're not in, no matter how many mistakes I've done. And my mom was getting very close to allowing me to have a strategy on when it came to talking to Kane. The school should have considered if I don't talk about him being my boyfriend for a whole day, then I can talk to him at the end of the day, every single day of not talking about him being my boyfriend. And working on admitting that he was not my boyfriend. But the school made a mistake for deciding to keep me away from Kane. We can't change the past, but the past can be part of the reason why abusive situations in the past can be part of the reason why Satan can tell other people to make them think that God wanted them to be avoidant. But really, Satan wants them to be avoidant, not God. But it is between them and God, and I do pray about it. Now for the topics on hope in God bringing new relationships. One of my biggest questions is, when is God bringing the new life between me and other people? I've been dealing with patterns of it, and we'll talk about patterns very soon. The other question is, do we go to God for wisdom? The other question is, how do we share our faith on social media? When it comes to sharing our faith on social media, we have to make sure that we're thinking about our relationships and not just being religious, not just having a Bible, but we need to think about how God works in our life and how we can be shaped the way we are. And the advice from Luke chapter 6 would be, don't judge other people for what they have done. Just get to know them. The other piece of advice when it comes to bringing new life in our relationships would be, have a prayer journal. Prayer journal would be very helpful, and I will need to get a prayer journal for my family, especially the fact that we don't have a plan on who does what on what days. And my brother likes to do gaming, and I have a habit of wasting time with my Excel numbers and just doing anything it takes to procrastinate. I have issues with wasting time with those. My dog whines a lot when he doesn't get his own way. And behavior therapy and training the dog's going to take a while. The other pieces of advice for hope in God bringing new life in our relationships. The Bible is a guide that can help us with our relationships with everyone. If we are strong enough believing in the Bible, it does work. Other parts that can help us with putting new life in our relationships would be going to counseling. Some people need to go to counseling with that for a couple of years straight. And everybody needs at least a 6-week process of family counseling. Even if they didn't get it early enough, but they could get it later on if there's been any concerns with family dysfunctioning. But every family would need at least 6 weeks of it. The hard thing about getting the counseling for a family is it does take a chunk of our time. Sometimes we want to do other things. Sometimes we are running errands, or we have to take our kids to soccer, or maybe one family member has a overload of work schedule. So again, the counseling is difficult. Another guide that I use to help with the family relationships is Super Nanny, and I use Cesar Millan for the dog behavioral therapy. And I do follow another dog trainer that helps with dog behavioral therapy. Another strategy that I'd like to talk about is prayer. Prayer is not just talking to God. It's also a two-way step. So when we pray, our prayers are not answered when we get our own way. Our prayers, God hears our prayers, responds to the prayer, but if we don't respond to His suggestion after we said our statement, then we're not really praying, we're demanding. And we're fighting it with Him. If we learn to respond to God's suggestions through our prayer life, then our prayers are truly answered because we know what He wants and He is listening to what we want. The other one is throwing our stubbornness out the window. Not easy to do. Most people hold on to their stubbornness, unfortunately. People may not be comfortable with the fact that he said that, but people do have a way of thinking, and sometimes they will think that their way is right. It can take a while for them to learn to change. If you have any questions about the topic on throwing stubbornness out the window, you can post it in the comments. And I could give a few hints on some ways to throw stubbornness out the window. One of them is thinking about varieties of options. And if we throw our stubbornness out the window, we actually have time to listen to people who have different opinions. It may not be It may not feel fun. It may be very, very difficult. We may wonder, why did I change my mind about something? As we break the stubbornness, we break the patterns of consistent issues with our relationships. Another step is communication's key, and we need to give ourselves time. We need to give ourselves time to solve problems and time to listen to people. It does seem to be talking about ways to get along, but when we let God put new lives in our relationships, we do eventually learn to get along with each other. If you have any questions, you can post them into the comments, and I'll be there for the next video.